my oldest son was ready to start kindergarten. He was excited. He knew his alphabet, he knew his colors, and how to use those little scissors. Within a month, though, his excitement died. He didn't talk about school anymore, and he didn't want to show me any of his schoolwork. I remember pulling a crumpled piece of paper out of his backpack. "What's this?" I said. It was a giant letter C with some dry corn glued to it. "I was supposed to work on that at home," he said. "I was supposed to finish it." Clearly not interested. "Well, how was recess?" I asked, trying to change the subject. Turns out he didn't get to go out to recess. He was kept inside gluing corn on the giant letter C. Well, I made an appointment to talk to his teacher. "I was going to call you myself," she said, as I sat down. "Your son is not completing his work in school." I said, "Oh, like that C with the corn on it? I was going to ask you about that." She says, "Well, yes, that is our C worksheet. He hasn't completed his other worksheets either." And then she pulled out a giant letter B with some dry beans glued to it. "Well, he's probably a little bit bored," I said. "He already knows his letters, and he was really excited to learn how to read this year." "I'm sorry," she said. "We don't learn how to read in kindergarten. We are learning the alphabet. If he learned to read this year, what would he do next year?" Right. Well, I'm not one to complain, and I really don't like confrontation either. I'm not even really comfortable sharing this story with you, but I do because that was the moment. That was when I realized I had to do something. I couldn't just sit there and watch him learn to hate school. I conferred with my best friend. Her daughter was in the afternoon class, and we brainstormed and we volunteered in the classroom, and we generally stepped up. And then one day we heard that Representative Fred Tillman was coming to town to talk about charter schools. The charter school law hadn't passed yet in Idaho, and he was going around the state trying to rally support. We had no idea what a charter school was, but we thought we'd go find out. By the end of his presentation, I was enthralled. "You mean I could start my own school? That would be cool." Clearly, I was naive and clueless, but I'd found my passion. I was going to start the perfect school for my son. Before long, I was leading a small group of parents meeting at a local coffee shop, trying to figure out how to start a school from scratch. We were pretty enthusiastic, and that's probably good because starting a new school is not for the faint of heart. The first question we had to figure out was, what kind of school would it be? But to be honest, we had no idea. That question, we just knew that we didn't want it to be like my son's kindergarten class, right? But that question, what kind of school will it be? That's a doozy. We really had to figure that one out before we could do any of the rest of the work. We talked about it, and we decided we wanted the very best curriculum out there. We didn't know what that was, but whatever it was, that's the one we wanted. I researched the bejeebers out of this. I did. I spent hours and hours on it. I found school curricula that matched every educational philosophy you can imagine. There were schools that focused on music and art. One was even in an art museum. Pretty cool. There were schools that had great books curriculum, and there were others that treated the big wide world as their classroom. In some, the teachers would lecture and drill, while in others, the teachers were more like mentors and guides. Some schools grouped students according to ability, and others just didn't even have classrooms, just big open learning areas where kids could mingle and work on projects. Some schools had very strict rules and guidelines, and others, the children actually negotiated the rules. It was a dizzying array of choices. I even called some of the schools to kind of get the inside scoop. "Hi, I'm starting a new school, and I'm looking for the very, very best curriculum. I was wondering if you happen to have it there." Yeah. Actually, some of the teachers did talk to me, and they regaled me with stories about their wonderful schools. But I was supposed to find the best curriculum. You know what? I utterly failed. There was no best. Every school I looked at had success. They had engaged, motivated students who met high academic standards. In full disclosure, I couldn't find any research on my additional mom standards that the children grew up to have successful careers, that they were kind to animals, and that they remember to call their mother. Well, I was baffled. How were we supposed to choose the best curriculum when there was no best? Then I realized the curriculum didn't matter. any curriculum we chose would work. That's because the most important feature for school success is passion. That's the only thing all the schools had in common. The teachers at the school loved what they were doing. They were engaged, and they thought this was the coolest way to teach ever. They were given the freedom to run with it. I went further, and I looked for schools where the curriculum had failed. And in every instance, it was because someone else, usually a well-meaning administrator, had chosen the curriculum for the teachers without their input, without their buy-in. Once I knew what I was looking for, I realized this didn't have to be a school reform effort. There were plenty of individual teachers ramping up the enthusiasm in their classrooms, even regardless of what was going on in the rest of their school. I thought about it, and I remembered a teacher I had in elementary school. His name was Mr. H, and his classroom was all chaos and wonder. He had the students group their desks willy-nilly, and there was a large table-sized terrarium complete with lizards in the middle of the room. He ruled over the whole thing with a big southern drawl. It was a pretty fantastic classroom. When my son started first grade, his teacher had a curriculum she loved. It was a reading curriculum. And she explained it to me quite eagerly and showed me how it worked. To be honest, it was a little bit complicated, but she loved it, and she was seeing amazing results with it. And every Friday, she put away her beloved curriculum and pulled out the district textbook because she was told she had to teach with it. Yeah. Now, teachers aren't the only ones who need passion. The parents and students need it as well. They may or may not understand the philosophy underlying the curriculum, but they have to believe that it's fantastic. They have to be excited about it and talk about it to their friends. Passionate parents are involved. They volunteer time and resources, they show up for parent-teacher conferences, and they take that enthusiasm home with them at the end of the day. And chances are, if you have parents and teachers who are excited about the curriculum, the child will be as well. Charter schools and private schools and magnet schools understand this formula. Teachers that sign a contract to teach at a private school do so knowing what the curriculum is at that school. They self-select the school that they're going to agree with philosophically. This works for parents, too. There's no school boundary that dictates who goes to a charter school. The parents select the school that best matches their educational outlook. And once you have passionate parents and passionate teachers, you have a successful school. This is not out of reach for regular public schools. They do not have to be cookie cutter, all teaching from the same textbook at the same time. This school, elementary A, it can be having multi-age classrooms. In this school, they can be elementary B, they can be rocking the Montessori method. And as the district easily allows parents to transfer their child from one school to another, you'll have passionate parents, and their passion will rub off on other parents. Once I understood the role of passion in education, it actually was quite a relief, because some of the schools that I looked at, I thought they were amazing, and other schools kind of rubbed me wrong. If one of those schools had turned out to be the best curriculum on the planet, we'd have been in trouble, because no way was I starting a school like that for my son. We ended up going with an expeditionary learning model. This features a lot of outdoor activity, it's hands-on learning, not a lot of worksheets. We hired teachers who love the curriculum and still think that it's the most amazing way to teach. Lots of parents got excited about this idea as well, hundreds actually. The school is in its 17th year and has about 350 students enrolled every year, with about another 100 to 200 on a waiting list. The parents brag about the school on social media. They talk about it. They're anxious and engaged for what goes on in the classroom. And you know what? I still love the school. I volunteer there, even though my kids have all grown up and moved on. And my son, it was the perfect school for him. He's 23 now, and he still loves that school. My other kids do too. And they're confident, they're bright, they're engaged, they love learning, and they find the world a big, amazing place. They even remember to call their mother. I'm calling that a success.